Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Ed Cohen, your broadcast host of Global TV Talk Show. And globalbusinessnews.net is our parent. And since 2003, when it was set up by a friend of mine from Intel Corporation, Google Analytics has measured 1.2 million reader page views. That's a lot. But more realistically, since we started Global TV Talk Show, April of 2020 through the other day, Google Analytics has measured 102,000 audience page views. And our special guest today is from Melbourne, Australia. And welcome to the show, Robyn Vogels.
Hi, good morning, Ed, or good afternoon, I should say to you, and hello to everybody who's watching in. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, from around the world. So here in Southern California, it's 4:36 p.m. and the sun is shining in San Diego here. And where you are, it's 8:36 in the morning tomorrow, May 26th.
Yeah, we're just coming up to 9:37, but yes, tomorrow. And so we'll make sure there's sunshine for you tomorrow as well. We've got a beautiful day here. But yeah, it's just about 1 o'clock for you, but definitely coffee time for me.
Yeah, 1 o'clock. That's a good one, isn't it? Wow. Okay, so your job is to showcase Australia, and create positive awareness. There's nothing negative anyway. It's all positive. So the weather there at this time of year in Melbourne, and
Yes.
notice the pronunciation, I got it right.
Very proud of you.
Melbourne, even though it says Melbourne, but it's Melbourne, right?
It is.
Okay. All right. So what's the weather like today?
Well, we're in autumn at the moment, going into winter. So Melbourne can have 4 seasons in one day, and spring and autumn, you'll definitely see that. So it's a case of taking umbrellas and sunglasses when you go out. Yesterday, there was a bit of flooding around the city centre in the afternoon, so that was quite exciting. But yeah, that's not too uncommon at this time of year. So yeah, sunshine with a bit of rain, and Melbourne in particular definitely has 4 seasons through the year, as opposed to perhaps Sydney or Perth, which are just hot permanently.
Yeah,
but, Sydney's had a lot of rain. Yeah, but yeah, Melbourne definitely, you feel the seasons in Melbourne. We're far enough south to have some cold winters at least.
So I want you to know that this is part of our global Bound for destination series. We just yesterday we had a similar broadcast with a destination provider in Sri Lanka.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Which on the map is close to you, but it's probably 18-hour flight. I don't know.
That's right. Just to get out of Australia, it takes 4 or 5 hours by flight. So especially from Melbourne. So nothing's that close. And, right. I think that's, a deep consideration for people who move to Australia on a permanent basis is that distance. And that's become even more so in COVID. You know, people have sort of said, okay, yeah, I can go to Australia because I can be back in the home country for grandparents within 24 hours. Which is a lot further than, you know, somebody who might say I could be home in 10 hours or 5 hours. 24 is a big difference.
On the body, never mind on the mind.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so there you are down under, and
Yes.
Melbourne is below or south of, I guess it's south of Sydney, right?
Correct. Yes. I
Right.
almost want to point and say, here's Sydney up here.
Yeah.
So you can see where Sydney is in the state of New South Wales, and we're the state of Victoria, which is interesting. Yeah.
What distance? Is that about an hour flight or is it longer?
No, to drive Melbourne to Sydney would take you, well, to Canberra takes about 8 to 10 hours, and then another 2 or 3 to Sydney. So to fly is, I think it's about 2.5 hours.
Where are most people relocating from into your area?
Yeah, we obviously have a lot around the APAC area and coming in from Asia. There's a lot of students that will come and study here, international students from Asia, big Chinese population from, you know, they come and study here. And then really from anywhere. Australia is quite a sought after destination. You know, it's got fresh air, strong economy. People want to come, you know, it's always on the radar when people are looking to move. There's good opportunities in Australia. So, you know, I move people from England. I've just had a family clear quarantine now from England, South Africa, India, everywhere.
Well, that's really interesting. Okay, so how many interpreters do you employ and cross-cultural experts?
Well, the cross-cultural, a lot of that is going online now. So I have a lady in the UK that I still use. She used to live here in Australia, and I think she's got a very good understanding of the European market. But most people who arrive here, especially, you know, if they have a job or in any sort of visa, they need to be able to speak English. The problem is who's accompanying them, and they don't necessarily speak English. So we have a company that does either one-to-one classes or group sessions. But for me, it's, you know, integrating the family. It's not just about the employee. And a lot of corporate relocations, you know, they just want to make sure their employee is happy. But if the family is not happy, the employee is not going to be totally happy either.
And unproductive.
So it really,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then they're going to have to pay for the relocation back. So
exactly.
So why would a company? This is off the wall question here, but why would a company, an employer, want to relocate somebody if the family's going to be a problem?
It's something I'm, you know, having a long discussion with HR about human resources, because they really need to start involving the family themselves with the relocation. And Australia probably isn't too hard to convince a family that it's a good place to come to. But there are other countries that, you know, human resources should actually have a dinner perhaps with the husband and the wife, for example, and make sure that the family is on board. But yes, very often, I think the statistics are in the 90%, 92% of refusals to take an international assignment are because of family issues. Perhaps the wife has a high-powered job, and I'm just, you know, might be the other way around. The husband has one that he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to leave his home country. It could be aging grandparents, schooling issues. There's a vast arrangement, and you know, bringing in a destination service provider helps to smooth that over. You know, me talking to people 6 months before they're thinking of coming, or even if they, you know, haven't actually got the visa but are considering it, can really put it over the line, get the job over the line, and just reassuring that family. And I myself have moved and lived in a number of different countries, so I can relate to most people's situation and what their concerns might be.
So let's just say one parent, spouse, parent, partner, they're the ones being relocated. The company's spending thousands to do this, and for some reason they want this person to move. So most companies do not do an extensive check of the family situation, the psychological fitness, or the adaptability quotient, or the emotional intelligence, or
Exactly.
basic intelligence, and capacity and desire to learn something new, and be upset,
Yes.
and then dealing with it. I'm just a mess. This is a mess.
It's a mess. And,
Yeah.
you know, I see it all too often where I might relocate somebody who's coming over as the new CEO, and then he starts bringing all the people that he likes to work with. You know, so that's easy. You know, he's sort of, I know Joe Soap, I want to work with him. So they're not even checking the employee's suitability for relocation. And I see it, you know, a relocation brings out warts and all. And for me, as somebody, you know, if I have somebody in my car and we're driving around and I can see how stressed they are and not enjoying this, and this was a bad decision and now they can't turn back. And, you know, it's very interesting. I think there's a lot of due diligence that gets missed even for the employee, never mind the family. But my job is to make sure that the family unit as a whole, you know, and it could just be little things. I had a human resources phone me the other day, and she said, "I see you've arranged a large hire car for this family." And I was, we don't think that's necessary. We've downgraded it to a little whatever it was. So I said, well, the reason they've got a bigger car is because they need a car seat for the child, and also he was from California. He was bringing his surfboards on the plane with him. So if they gave him a little Ford Fiesta, he's not going to put his surfboards in. You know, so it's, you know, that's the level that you need to be in to understand what the family needs. And it's those little things that can get you on the wrong foot, you know, at the airport already, arriving in the car park when you're tired and you've got a toddler. The last thing you want is you can't fit your luggage in the car.
Okay, so Zoom, obviously you use Zoom a lot.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like a no-brainer. You know, of course, rather than have a surprise guest show up, you know,
Yes.
I would think that probably happens, but that's just stupid, seemingly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know of some Japanese companies that won't allow a transfer to occur until the whole family is aligned and educated about what it's going to be like on the other side.
Yes.
And they go through extensive language and culture. Not that they have to converse as easily as you and I are, but they get it. You know, they have,
Yes.
because the reputation of the employer is at stake, never mind ROI.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's very much a Japanese culture, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so the name of your company is Personnel Relocations.
Correct.
.au?
.com.au. Yes.
.com.au. Okay, everybody out there get that? personnelrelocations.com.au. All right, and here's a website. No, this is the LinkedIn page.
Yes.
Okay, so settling in, and well, that's a beautiful shot. So we need to find a beautiful shot, not from Sydney Harbor, but from Melbourne. And
yes, there's some on there. I was insisting on the website. You know how hard it was for me to not put a Melbourne picture on the front.
I know.
There's quite a big rivalry between Sydney and Melbourne. So yes, that was a hard pill to swallow, but it is a beautiful photo, so I had to concede.
Yeah. Okay. So now in Melbourne, there's a city park or some kind of a city center. I was reading up on it on Google a few minutes ago. Why don't you describe what that central recreation or historical place is?
It could have been a few things, because Melbourne's the most livable city in the world. So we have a lot of...
Well, that's like here in San Diego, the politicians call it America's finest city. And you know, Joanne is a native of San Diego, and she hates that slogan.
We have quite a few. You could be referring to the Botanic Gardens, which has and the Shrine of Remembrance. You could even be talking about Fitzroy Gardens, which is in the heart of the city. There's also Federation Square. So we're never far from some sort of green belt, some sort of park, and the beautiful bay beaches in Melbourne.
So the weather, the climate in Melbourne is 4 seasons or multiple seasons, and as opposed to Sydney, which is sort of like, it sounds like Las Vegas. It's clean and beautiful, but hot.
Yes. Sydney is probably, everybody sees Bondi Beach on TV, and I think they think the whole of Australia is like Bondi Beach. And I'll, have clients arriving here from India or, really warm country, or Singapore, and they can't believe how cold it is because they just expected it all to be hot all the time.
Yeah,
but Melbourne,
isn't that interesting?
Melbourne this week already has gone down to 0 degrees in autumn. So I think we're in for a cold winter.
So that's 32 Fahrenheit. Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I know about that.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a timely announcement.
Hi, I'm Sergei Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
We had a talk show with a lady, a petroleum engineer from Perth, about a month and a half ago, and it was delightful. And then our friend Siobhan over at Deluxe, and we have a couple of contacts in Sydney in the business community.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you now about the process of immigration to Australia and Melbourne. You've wrote a book, the DIY Move Guide to Australia. That means
Yes.
do it yourself.
Correct.
Right.
Just because, there's the DIY. The book is available on Amazon, so that's been interesting, trying to market a book in a country where you don't live. The reason behind writing the book is I feel that there's a lot of people that fall through the cracks. There's a lot of people that are moving to Australia on permanent resident visas or investment visas, where they're not moving with the corporate support. So when you have corporate support, you're more likely and hopefully get some of the cultural training, language training, or anything else that you might need. There's also a lot of money involved in moving. And when you're moving yourself and your family to Australia, you don't know who to trust. You don't know where to start. You don't know the process of which do I get first, the bank account or the driving license. So the book was really to help people navigate the whole system. So the first half of the book is all about budgeting, a lot of finance information, how to check your removalists' quotes, how to compare them, how they hide prices, because there alone you can save a lot of money just in your removalist quotes by knowing what to look for and how to compare apples with apples. The book is really for anybody who's perhaps not getting that corporate support, because further down the line, they arrive in Australia, they suddenly are struggling with culture shock. They don't know what culture shock perhaps is. They weren't expecting it because Australia just seems to be an easy place to live. So why am I depressed? And that depression then lands up with divorce rates and suicides and all sorts of things further down the line. So I'm really passionate about making sure that people have the right start, but also integrate and find themselves here.
So you have a slogan that I find interesting called Distance Families.
Yes.
What is that?
So the distance families is something I found it quite fascinating at the moment. I've been looking a lot and sort of researching on how it is that people can call another country home. What point in their lives do they say, okay, I'm actually home, I feel settled? And there's a lady in New Zealand by the name of Helen Ellis, and she's just written her first book, which will be 3 books on distance families. Now, to me, that there was a lot with dealing with a family back home that seemed normal and, just what we should all do, looking after grandparents or, the grandchildren-grandparent relationship. But Helen's actually highlighted a lot of issues and just trying to understand how each family evolves in their new lifestyle and how that changes their perspective and their relationship. So, for example, if you always had Sunday lunch with the grandparents, how is that going to look in the new country? What can you do to keep that routine and that ritual going? And the other part that I'm finding really interesting with this is leading it into research I'm doing on families who are, what's the word I'm looking for, sort of across generations and how they perceive one another. When people feel that they're comfortable in a new country, could be when they have their new community around them. Or is it a case of them feeling comfortable in a new country when they reach that maturity in life to know who they really are? So perhaps it's not anything to do with the country as such, but it's about finding yourself and then feeling like you belong in that country. So what is it? What is that point where people feel they belong?
So some
I just
people,
find that,
yeah, exactly. I think it's fascinating what you're doing. Um, Everybody's different, though. They
yeah,
absorb things differently. You don't know what's going on in their world when you come in contact with them,
yeah,
and it's like, you could probably sense that, you know, they're playing imposter sometimes. They're taking in what you're saying, and you think it's penetrating, and then the next day, it's like you never spoke with them or told them
yes.
anything, because they.
And that's what makes it interesting, Ed. That's what makes it interesting, because we are all different. We are all different, and every
Yeah.
country is different. And I lived in the UK for nearly 10 years. Didn't have that many friends in 10 years. That's a bit worrying.
Well,
Why is that?
what's wrong here?
Exactly. What did I do wrong? But when I lived in France, the friends I made in France, I still am in contact with them now. And I made great friends, but I didn't feel that France was ever home either. So it's all those dynamics of the different countries coming in with the different generations and our feelings and how we find each other. And I think it's only when I've arrived in Australia, and perhaps, I was brought up in South Africa, so Australia is very similar in the culture to South Africa. But I think it's also when you get that maturity, and perhaps my kids were a little bit more independent then, and I could make friends and had some time back for myself. But I just find that whole topic really interesting, and it's something I'm passionate about, is making sure that it's there for the longevity of my clients, that I'm there to support them and help them understand what's normal and what isn't normal, and when they might need some more support.
Now, I have to ask a couple of pointed questions, and if you don't like them, just tell me.
Okay.
or redirect me to something else.
Okay.
Like Ed, go leave the room. No.
Go and get your glass of wine, Ed.
Yeah. Right now I'm on water. This is water. But after this, no. But what do you do now, or would you like to do in a more perfect world, with corporate HR people who don't get what you do, and yet they're giving you contracts because you're going to help solve a problem for them? But those corporates, they don't understand what's going on because they're probably local. And
exactly.
So use this program as a go-to resource, if you will, or as a first step towards getting one-on-one, where you can share with the corporate community and others precisely the issues at hand. Because we talked a little lightly, maybe too lightly, about family members, not the employee, and they are the make or break. That's where risk mitigation comes in.
Absolutely. And in the 12 years I've been running personnel relocations, I've never really opted in for tenders. I'm not looking for big corporates that move thousands of people. I'm looking for corporates who really want to look after the staff. So it's not unusual for me to go through the list of top companies to work for, because I know that those are companies that really want to look after their staff. And it's those companies that see the value in using somebody like myself to make sure that every little T is crossed and I is dotted. As I was saying earlier about the car hire, or it could be about arranging their service department. So many companies these days have perhaps a travel agency that just arranges all the accommodation. But accommodating somebody who's on a 3-week seminar or 2-week seminar compared to somebody who's going to have to live there for 4 to 6 weeks with a family is a very different set of accommodation. So it's making sure, I really want to work with those clients that want that extra care, that really value their employees and appreciate that the family has made sacrifices to come all the way to Australia, to appreciate how the 8 to 10 weeks before they've left have felt, packing everything up, throwing things away, saying goodbye, the children saying goodbye to their friends, to their grandparents. I really, those are the HR people that I enjoy working with, those that really value that and want the best for their employees and the family. It's not just about the employee, and it's not about ticking boxes to say, we compliant, we did this. It's not just about that. There's a lot of emotions involved. And you were quite right, Ed, and I find that so often here in Australia. The Australians have a very laid-back attitude of, she'll be all right, it's okay. You need to understand what it's like to move. And I think that's what makes my service quite unique in Australia amongst the relocation companies and certainly the destination service providers, in that I can relate to what it's like moving. And I know that you don't want to be contacting a family as they're zipping up their suitcases and saying, make sure you send me your driving license, or, so we can get you a pool car. They need to understand. They need to have some more empathy.
Now, to what extent do you guide people to not relocate their furniture?
It's a good question, actually, because some people just bring too much stuff. Americans and even South Africans, for that matter, have some of the biggest houses on the planet, and Australia is. It's I definitely, it is one of the questions when I'm doing a needs analysis. Do you have any oversized pieces of furniture? Because
and they say no, it's normal.
Yeah. Oh, I just have a 10-seater dining room table. Yeah. So yes, I do definitely discuss that with them. And also, if people are moving by themselves, and we discuss this a lot in the book, is what things take up space in a container that you might not need here. So first of all, most rental properties here will come with wardrobes, with a dishwasher, curtains or blinds. So you're not going to need any of those. But if your beds are really old, you don't need to bring them. Don't bring them, because they just take up space in a container and they're not that expensive to replace here. So we do work a lot with people to compare what they might want to be bringing, what's worthwhile, especially if they're having to pay for their own removals. Something like a bookcase, for example, is very cheap to replace at IKEA, but it can't take weight in a container, so it just takes up space.
Okay, so to what extent are you using Zoom? And I would think it's required. I mean, it's a way to get to know you, of course, and you get to see what's going on. But they can even walk around their house holding the computer,
camera,
the laptop,
and
or just the cell phone, if they're doing FaceTime or something, and to show you what they have. And then you can have a discussion like, well, do you really need to bring that? I mean, I don't care if you do, but do you really need to?
Yeah. And sometimes it's things like heirlooms, and something people have inherited, and it's huge. And you just think, you're not going to fit that in the house, but it can be a bit of a delicate conversation. So yes, I use Zoom a lot, and I think the book has brought a lot more private relocation, so not necessarily coming through a corporate. So I have a lot more privates. I do a needs analysis, and then we have a Zoom consultation. And I also offer just a 1-hour consultation for those people who may be still thinking about it and don't know where to start, or they just want me to discuss furniture removals with them, or what their options might be. So I use Zoom a lot, and it is important to prepare people. And there's a lot of paperwork that you can start doing before you arrive, and things like obtaining references, because when you're coming to a new country and you don't have any reference, you don't have any credit history, there's a lot of paperwork that you need to bring from back home with you into Australia to set yourself up. So yes, we talk a lot over the camera, and it's, by the time I meet the actual family in the real world, it's an exciting moment. So yeah, it's really good.
I know that someday you and I are going to meet.
Yes.
I'm going to come and visit Australia and Melbourne.
Fantastic.
And,
yes.
And then we're already going to be friends.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Well, thanks for being on Global TV. Is there something you want to ask us, or something more that that you want to stress at this point in time?
No, I think I just want to wish everybody the best through this unprecedented times that we have at the moment. And yeah, everybody's trying to support one another, and it's been an interesting time in global mobility. So, just everybody needs to look after themselves, and we'll all be back to normal very soon. And please,
Yes.
you're welcome to come to Australia. I'd love to meet you.
Yes, I've been vaccinated twice, and I hope everyone else does it, because
Yes,
it does work.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thanks again, and please think about coming back on our programs more than once, or just another time if you wish. Robyn Vogels in Melbourne, Australia, and the company is, why don't you say it?
We're Personnel Relocations, and we're across Australia.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, now, is there anybody moving into the interior?
Yes, definitely. And especially during COVID, there were a lot of people that, because the state of Victoria, so in Melbourne, where I am, we had a just over 100-day of a strict lockdown. And a lot of Melburnians didn't enjoy that very much, so they moved to other states. So there's been a lot of interstate moves, and that's probably where I've been keeping the business afloat at the moment. Although I'm an international relocation specialist, I introduced a service line during COVID, which was Inspect for You. So if somebody didn't want to travel interstate and perhaps get locked down at a sudden notice, our consultants could go and inspect a rental property on their behalf.
Yeah, especially on the Zoom thing. But
Yeah.
so the interior must be it's quite different, I'm sure, climate-wise. So are the cost of property is probably not as high, but the cost of running a house is probably higher, with electricity or gas or
Yeah.
food or whatever.
Look, the interior, central Australia is extremely hot, and most of it is cattle stations. It's a very different style of life, but certainly it's probably about 70% of Australia's population live along the coastline. So Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, Melbourne. But moving into the interior is definitely farming. It's more dealing with the cattle stations as opposed to corporate life.
Yeah. Okay. Now I've got a silly question. Where do the kangaroos live?
Everywhere. No, look, they're not running down the high street. But even sort of an hour out of Melbourne, you can see them. My son plays a lot of golf, and he'll go to a golf tournament, and there'll be kangaroos on the golf course. So yeah, they are where there's a large piece of land, you'll find kangaroos. But easily within an hour of Melbourne, you can see them in their natural habitat. Somewhere like the Christmas Hills, for example, you'll see them in their natural habitat.
It's so interesting. So they just a hop, skip, and away, right? And if you see them on the golf course, do they pick up the ball and hop away?
No, not usually. But I've got a set of photos that was really cute. The one day my son was sort of lining up in front of the golf ball, and there was a mother kangaroo and two little ones, and she's almost looks like she's shooing them off, and then she looks back at him, and then when he steps forward to take his shot, they actually ducked. And I've got this set of 3 photos with her sort of shooing them off and then looking back at him and then ducking. It's really cute.
May I please ask that you send me those photos in an attachment, and
Okay.
I'll send them on to producer Paul. And I think this could be a trademark that everyone in the world will know who you are.
My kangaroos.
What's that song? Tie Me Down, Kangaroo, or something.
Yes.
Right.
But even the bird life, the bird life here is amazing. I'm sort of 45 minutes southeast of Melbourne, and the cockatoos and the galahs, it's just beautiful. So yeah, it's a great environment.
Now, are you along the coast or are you inland?
I'm about 10 minutes from the bay.
I see. Okay, good.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's a delight to get to know you, and thank you for
You too.
sharing this. This is cool. All right, we'll be back to you.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you. Robyn Vogels in Melbourne area, Cheltenham in Victoria,
That's it.
and the land down under. Okay, ciao.
Thanks, Ed. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.